Hey, what's up? Kevlin here, and I have Mist with me. Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 favorite Fire Emblem characters. It honestly took a while for me to make this list because I wasn't sure how to narrow it down. Top 5 favorite S ranks, favorite main characters, favorite sword users. Should they be playable or just NPCs? Spoiler alert, it doesn't matter. Those could be videos on their own, but I feel like there'd be a lot of overlap between them. Anyways, I try to boil it down like how I usually do lists: usefulness, personality, and outfit. I also factored in how they are in all Fire Emblem games, heroes, warriors, etc., etc., etc. Also, I wanted to add that a lot of these characters are not usually fan favorites, so there's no Chrom or Edelgard or Korn. If that's not something you're vibing with, you are free to meander to a different part of the internet. It won't bug me. But on that note, this is the internet. These are just my opinions based on my experiences. Things may change. They're not meant to offend anyone, and this is mostly made for fun. Now let's get on with the show. Number 10, Lucina. What? I hear you say? Lucina only at number 10? Yes, she's only at number 10, but remember that's out of all Fire Emblem characters. I put Lucina here because while she's usually a better combat unit compared to her dad Chrom, she's only okay. Lucina's great with a sword and a fast learner with other weapons, but her main weapon, Falchion, is all she really has going for her. If that's the selling point, I can usually find another sword user or someone to fill that spot. Where she makes up for her combat is her personality. Lucina is so brave for going back in time not knowing what will happen to her whether she succeeds or fails. She's doing it for her family and the greater good. She's brave, she's selfless, and she's supportive. She's also not afraid to be vulnerable, like when she finally has time with Chrom. She's also not afraid to get her hands dirty when you encounter her in the arena. I also just really like her outfit, including the mask she sometimes has. Lucina is just a cool character, and I'm glad we've gotten to see her in several games. Number 9, Navarre, the original Fire Emblem edgelord. The guy I didn't know if he was a man or a woman when I saw the anime. I didn't even know his name, but whether in anime or in game, Navarre is a great unit. Obviously, since he's one of the first units of his type you encounter in Marth's game, he will become one of your stronger units, as long as you don't accidentally misclick or get him killed. But other than that, he's still a decent unit. In the original Warriors games, he shares a similar moveset to Lyn, but I think he's a little bit more durable. I don't think that's a fact, I think that's just how it was on my playthroughs. I've also been using Navarre a lot more in Heroes, and his original version from the Grand Hero battles is doing a lot better than I thought he would. He's a steady unit even though he doesn't have like a crazy weapon with a CVS receipt length description. He also doesn't have plot armor like Byleth or Pepsi do, but he's a good unit to have in a roster of characters that aren't either main characters or love interests for the avatars. While Navarre isn't a main character, his personality of edgy swordlord has been a reoccurring trait in almost every Fire Emblem game, like Lon'Qu, Dean, or even Felix. I really do like characters that are straightforward and realistic in things that could happen. Navarre knows his limits both physically and socially. I wish more people did in real life, but to each their own. As for his outfit, it stayed pretty similar throughout Fire Emblem, but my favorite is his Heroes version. It's just a little more detailed, and I like the silver instead of the gold. Number 8 is Henry. I have a snake named Henry, so that should say something about my love for the character. Though I do have snakes named Mist, Asugi, Seizo, Yune, Elise. I have a few, and they aren't all on the list. The snake got her name because she acts like the Awakening character and toys with her targets, aka her food. Anyway, enough about the snakes. I ultimately did S-rank Henry in Awakening because his durability and his magic attacks are really, they're up there. He basically has the flip stats of Tharja, who I kept losing due to her low HP and defense. The fact that Henry has puns and animal friends also helped out. He's a bit of an odd duck, but I also appreciate characters who are who they are and they just don't care if others don't vibe with them. In Heroes, Henry was one of, if not the first units I had, and while he wasn't the strongest of hitters, he was able to outlast everyone, on both sides. It didn't matter if you were friend or foe, Henry would still be out there dancing on your grave when the battle's over. Henry was my number 1 unit in Heroes for the longest time, but we'll get to the new guy later on the list. Henry is a great unit from his backstory, which I find interesting. His supports are always great. My personal favorites are Robin, Rickon, and Olivia. I also love that he's a dark mage in like dark Egyptian garb wearing a nerd sweater and sandals. His Halloween ult is pretty cool too. Number 7 is Zelkov. He is a more recent unit, and right now, as of making this video, only has one appearance, which is his original game, Fire Emblem Engage. If you've seen my ranking the Engage Royals video, you'll know that when I was playing Engage, I leveled up my army as much as I could before even leaving Brodia. So when Pepsi Dragon finally got Ivy and her retainers, it was nice to have said retainers be able to jump in and throw hands pretty much immediately, either being a master class or a special class in Zelkov's case. Other than Yunaka, we didn't have any other dagger units available, unless you switched classes. Also, having units who could both close and distant counter was rare outside of mages. There were a handful of weapons that could do this, but either having the units available to use them or even having the weapons in your possession at that time were rare. So having Zelkov on the team was great. He's fast and has a high crit rate. I also just think he's a fun character outside of combat. While I wouldn't say Zelkov is like a negative person, he's a breath of fresh air compared to the rest of the Engage cast. They're all positivity and puppies and ponies and rainbows, with a handful of character traits that just define them. While Zelkov's main game is that he has like a million different hobbies. That's what makes him interesting. Each of his support conversations are just something different. Sometimes it's about painting, or knitting, or sharing his work. Just like real people have lots of interests, Zelkov has lots of interests as well. I really want to know what that key on his neck goes to, though. Is it treasure, his old family home, a gift from someone? Maybe someone has the matching lock. Who knows? I do know I really like his jacket coat thing. I feel like he and Robin shop at the same place. Number 6 is Reinhardt. Most of my knowledge of Reinhardt is from Fire Emblem Heroes and some Google searches, but when I first summoned him, none of that mattered. I was still getting used to how heroes worked, so when I summoned a blue unit and got Reinhardt, I was confused. I was confused and dumb. He has a sword, so shouldn't he be a red unit? Anyway, I trained all my units at least to level 10, so when I took him out to train, I realized he's actually a red unit exterminator. I was still forming my core team, but after a while I had summoned a few Reinhardts. That may be an understatement. I then realized I could have 2 Rains on one team, so for the longest time I had 2 people on my team, 2 blue Rains and 2 Ikes, the original Ike and Axe Ike. Now with 2 Rains and Axe Ike, a hunt for a good green unit back then was tough if you didn't have Hector. I was doing decently well, not like gold level top tier summoner, but good enough I didn't want to chuck my phone at the wall every other fight. I'll see if I can find some old footage of some of the replay battles.
Father, I'm sorry.
This must be fate.
Not here.
Number 5 is Shamir. I love Shamir. She's a great battle unit right out the gate, and she's playable on all of the routes. She's able to learn close counter fairly early, her crit rate is high. There's just a lot to like about her. Shamir is also my main archer in all of Fire Emblem 3 Houses. What sucks though is it takes a while for her to join. I remember struggling with Ash and trying to get him to a decent spot, but all of that was wasted when Shamir joined, just right out the window. She's just fashionably late, like in Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. Shamir is playable on all of the 3 Hopes routes, but it takes a while to get her on your team. What I really like about her is her interactions with other characters. She's also kind of a straightforward character, but seeing her with Catherine and Leonie was always great. I also really liked how she opened up a bit with Shez in 3 Hopes. You hardly ever see that with Shamir, so it was nice. It was a breath of fresh air. I did end up giving her the whistle on one of my Warriors playthroughs, though Shamir and Catherine's dynamic is also amazing, and we need more of that. Mist has not left this tube yet. Isn't she a cute tube snake? Number 4 is Kaze, or Kaze, however you want to pronounce it. I've always said Kaze, so anyway. I think what puts Kaze above Shamir is while he's with you on all routes, is that he's there for you pretty early on 2 out of the 3 routes. Like Zelkov, he's a dagger unit and an amazing one at that. Adding any skills he learns like lethality makes him, well, lethal. It's great writing. I promised I passed English class. His personal skill, Miraculous Save, is literally a saver. Those rare times when I'm partnered with Kaze and my character gets in the red, that skill almost always kicks in. So Garen can suck it. Another thing that puts K's in the spot is the gameplay elements of Fire Emblem Fates. While anyone ranked lower like Reinhardt or Shamira can't really help the gameplay limitations in their games, being able to pair up and fight side by side with someone is great. You can even share some skills and build bonds like that. I really wish they brought that back in newer games. It's not the same, they have similar stuff, but it's not the same. It's like a third-party chips. They have a weird aftertaste. Kaze is always loyal and kind no matter what game he's in, whether it's to Korner or his kids or the summer. He's patient and always ready. He's also basically the equivalent of Luigi, so the Mario-Luigi duos in Fire Emblem are always fun, and I am a Luigi person, so... Number 3 is Marth. I had to put him somewhere on here, didn't I? Over the years, I feel like Marth has been run in circles and the man needs a break, but he's always there, and I doubt Fire Emblem would be the same without him. He's like the original Lay's Chip. He's always a good base. Playability and combat-wise, he's a blue-haired sword lord, so what can you expect? He's a great unit, and in Heroes, each new alt is better than the last, outfit-wise too. Though why didn't they give him pants? Art style and era are no reason why this man should be fighting a dragon with no pants on. No matter the alt or world though, Marth is always a steady hand ready with sword or support. What's crazy to me is that his English voice actor, Yuri Lowenthal, is also Ben for most of the Ben 10 series. Marth is all proper and kind, and Ben is all... he's like the opposite.
Someday, in the future, our paths may cross once more.
New plan. Working on it.
Number 2 is Dimitri. While Edelgard and the others are not on this list, Dimitri is. Dimitri took me by surprise. I hardly knew anything about the game when it launched, much less about Dimitri. What's crazy is that while he's not on this list because I S-ranked him, but because of the depth of his character, his growth, regression, and redemption, it surprised me. Combat-wise, he's a one-man army. The only thing that can stop him is if he runs out of weapons, which he will break a lot of. Once I got him with a good level and weapons, all I had to do was just kind of point him in the right direction and watch him go. Pretty much every game Dimitri's in, I can just put him on autopilot and he will kill every last one of them. Can we also just take a moment to acknowledge how broken his Christmas alt is? Now, Dimitri's personality itself I thought was a bit too formal. It felt kind of like Marth, which isn't a bad thing, but compared to the different aspects of Edelgard, Claude, and Rhea, it seemed a bit bland. As the story progresses, his personality really starts to come through. I'm not even talking about like feral Dimitri, but just how he acts with Byleth. Dimitri isn't even just nervous around them. Social interactions scare this guy. He's a flustered, tired mess. But, I mean, aren't we all? His personality really comes full circle at the end of his route in Three Houses. Dimitri is everything he needs to be. He's not perfect, but he's still pretty amazing. Though I think the numbers can agree. Before we get on to number 1, I want to name some honorable mentions. Leaf, because his backstory and outfits are always top-notch. Arvel, for being a breath of fresh air after Sothis and being connected to those who slither in the dark. Also, not consistently having tunnel vision like everyone did in Three Hopes. They did break out of that, cycle eventually. Their support and conversations with Shez are also pretty funny. I like the opening one.
Do you know how many times you would have died by now if not for me? I'll tell you. 22.
And Felix. Do I really need to explain why I like Felix? I don't really feel like I need to explain Felix to you. Number 1 is Ike. Ike is the best, at least to me. Like, that's kind of the whole reason of this list. Yes, he's basically another blue-haired sword lord, but he's also sarcastic. He has great lines, and he's loyal to those who he stands by. You could say he fights for his friends. Just like Marth in every iteration, Ike just gets better and better. I don't care if it's Smash Bros. Or Heroes. Ike is always a great guy to have on your side. Every move is just so powerful. In Smash, you can literally feel the controller rumble as you smack people around. Of course, in his own games, Ike is still a force to be reckoned with. I also think he's just fun to watch. Every battle or interaction with him is gold. Almost. I'm not really holding it against him, it's mostly just Engage's limitations, but I feel like we didn't get the full Ike experience with him, though. I really like those little hidden conversations, though, like with Soren and some of the others. Those are just fun little tidbits, I wish there had been more. But I also just really like Ike. He's one of the few characters I will spend orbs on if I didn't get him for a free summon or through tickets. And that's my top 10 Fire Emblem characters for now. Who knows, this list might change if a new game comes out. It might even change by the next Heroes update, who knows. But thank you as always, especially if you've watched it this far. It means a lot that y'all stuck around. So let me know who your favorites are, and Mist and I will hope to catch you next time. So, Choose Your Legends 9, I think, is going on currently while I'm working on this video. It probably will have ended when this video airs. But let me just say that seeing Reinhardt still on the radar makes me way too happy. I don't know why, but usually I will do 7 votes for Reinhardt. This year I'm alternating between him and Fafnir because Fafnir needs attention too. I would like closure on his story. But knowing that Reinhardt is still on the radar, I don't know. I'm willing to die on this hill alone. Because I don't know. I will die on this hill. Reinhardt for Choose Your Legends.